Hello there and welcome. This is module 1, training 3. Now we are going to discuss the limbic system. What is the limbic system? What parts belong to the limbic system? And what do they do, right? This is a well-tested subject. So let's go ahead and see how much we can learn on this training. Here is our roadmap un- unrevealing the limbic system. So now we are discussing the limbic system, right? So what components belong to the limbic system? That's your cingulate gyrus, the thalamus, the hypothalamus, below the thalamus, obviously. Then you have your amygdala. Amygdala is so important. And the hippocampus, it's all about memory, short-term memory to long-term memory. Amygdala, it's your fear. And then we have the thalamus. The thalamus really is like a relay control that regulates where everything goes, right? Well, let's break this down. So the limbic system, it regulates and modulates emotions and memory, starting with the hypothalamus. Its key role is the function and regulation of appetite, hunger, thirsty, water, circadian rhythm, body temperature, libido, hormonal regulations. That's a lot, right? How can you memorize the hypothalamus? Think of it of what the heck, which stands for water, hunger, appetite, temperature, H for hormones. The E is the sex libido, right? Kind of with a big E over there. And then finally, circadian rhythm. It seems pretty important, right? Because it is. Now comes the thalamus. The thalamus is where everything is kind of like diffused and sent to the right location. Think of it as someone controlling the traffic. This line can go, this one needs to stay. Otherwise, you would have an influx of sensory, and that would not be good. So let's see the thalamus is a relay center, except for smells, because smells belongs to amygdala. It modulates memory and related behaviors. For example, you could imagine it as a sensory switchboard connecting all the senses but smell. The hippocampus. Oh, that's a good one. Every time I think about the hippocampus, I think of a hippopotamus with a big head. Hippocampus, think about the hippopotamus with the big head. What does it mean? Well, let's find out. So the hippocampus regulates memory, converting short-term memories into long-term. So responsible for motivation, stress management, emotions, and learning. For example, here the hippopotamus with the big head, which has to do with your memory, converting short-term memory into long-term memories. And do not forget or get confused. Stress management. It didn't say aggression. It didn't say fear. It didn't say fight or flight. It said stress management, which means very different than aggression, anxiety, fear, right? Because oftentimes hippocampus or the hippocampus gets confused with the amygdala, which is amygdala is the modulation of mood, emotional memories. So here's something. Do you remember? Well, let's say I remember when I was a kid, my mother making oatmeals, okay, cookies. So every time I smell the oatmeal, it reminds me of my grandma and how good. I liked it to be over her house because she would give me oatmeal cookies. And that is your amygdala connecting the sense of smell to your memory here of the past. So that's what the amygdala do. Emotions memory, emotional memory, fear, anxiety, and aggression. It's part of the amygdala. It regulates the smell by connecting it to emotions. For example, amygdala, right? EMO equals to emotions, right? Emotions that stands for fear of smell, stands for fear, emotion, aggression, and anxiety. It relates regulates mood and smell. Now, let's do a little check on learning. What is the hippocampus responsible for? Can you name the four things that we just covered a minute ago? Well, if you can't, don't worry about it. We're gonna cover again. The hippocampus, the big head hippopotamus, is responsible for short-term memory to long-term memory, stress, emotions, and learning. Okay, and that is your hippocampus. All right. Another check on learning. What is the function of the amygdala? Remember, amygdala. What is the function of amygdala? Can you say it? Can you tell yourself what is the function of the amygdala? Well, let's cover. Fears, fear of smell, which is the fear, anger, anxiety, and aggression. That's your amygdala. And obviously, it smells. Think of it as my grandma. My grandma, God, please save her. That she made absolutely the best oatmeal cookies, right? And every time I eat my oatmeal or eat a cookie or anything that has oatmeal, my memories go back to my beloved grandma. Another check on learning. Which brain instruction assigns emotion significance to a stimuli? It creates emotional memory and frequently plays a role in fear and anger. Is it A, the hippocampus? Is it B, the temporal lobe? Is it C, the medulla? Or is it D, the occipital lobe? All right. So it is the amygdala. By now, I trust that you got this answer right. But if you didn't, let's go over what's the amygdala. Amygdala is responsible for attributing emotional significance to a stimuli, forming emotional memories, and playing a key role in fear and rage response and smell, right? Now, the hippocampus, we just covered that, but it is the part of the brain primarily involved in learning, memory formation, and spatial navigation, not assigning emotional values or managing emotions like motivation, stress, emotional, and learning. That's more like a amygdala, and that is the reason why it cannot be A. The temporal lobe, which we cover on training one, its primary function is processing auditory information and is involved in memory and language processing, but it does not directly handle emotional response. So is the occipital lobe, which it processes visual information and help interpret what we see, but it is now responsible for associating emotion with the stimuli or governing our reactions. And that's the reason why it cannot be the occipital lobe. Okay, another check on learning. Which limbic system structure is connected to our response to stress? Is it the cerebellum? B, the hippocampus? C, is it the thalamus? Or D, the hypothalamus? Well, if you guess the hippocampus, the big head of the hippocampus, right? It is responsible for converting the short-term memory into long-term memory. Um, Learning, it plays a significant role in stress. Stress. Hippocampus is a stress response, not the medulla. So, what does cerebellum do? Cerebellum is all about movement, coordination, and balance, right? So, it is unrelated to the stress response, which is the core of this question. Here is a thing, guys. When you look at the question, right? This is a trick. When you look at the questions, you will see many right answers. However, ask yourself, is it answering the question that's being asked? For example, here it's asking about the stress, right? It try to confuse you in many ways, but know what the question's asking so that you give an appropriate response. The thalamus, as we mentioned, is the relay sensory information to the cerebral cortex, but it does not directly respond to stress. Bam. The hypothalamus below the thalamus is responsible for regulating hormones and maintain homeostasis. It's important, but not directly linked to stress response. Remember, the hypothalamus, what the heck? Acronym, right? The thalamus is your sensory relay. The hippocampus is about stress response, converting short term to long term memory. And the cerebellum, it's all about movement, balance, especially balance as well, right? So there you have it. Now let's take another look at this picture here. We have the occipital lobe, vision. The thalamus is a sensory relay. The cerebellum is the posture and balance. The brain stem. The brain stem is vital. Everything that's vital for you to live. And I am referring to breathing, swallowing, heart rate, and blood pressure. That's your brain stem. Going down the list, we have the hypothalamus. What the heck? Thirst, water, sleep, and mood. Then we're moving on to the temporal lobe. It is all about learning, memory, hearing, and language, right? Remember, and language. When we say, um, when we compare it to aphasia, is it receptive or not? We have to distinguish the aphasia because we have also the frontal lobe, which is your decision making, problem solving, conscious, and emotion. Okay? Let's not forget the basal ganglia, which has to do with your balance as well, right? And movement. Well, let me correct. The balance is the cerebellum, and the basal ganglia, that's the movement. Think about uh, those patients that are taking antipsychotic and they have problem with the movement has to do with the basal ganglion. Okay. All right. So this one was short, sweet. I'll see you on the next training. My name is Dr. Lopez, and I can't wait to see you become a board certified.